Will we actually see Sergio Perez retire from Formula One? That's the question everyone is asking after some crazy rumours surrounding his future at Red Bull as we head towards his home Grand Prix in Mexico. I think Sergio Perez really needs to sit down and think about his future. He could easily find himself in trouble again next year, and Red Bull have more than enough options to replace him. So what does he want his final chapter in Formula One to be? Does he leave a championship winning team on his own terms? Or take the risk of going into 2024, the possibility of not clicking with the car once again and being thrown out by the Red Bull team partway through next season. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we were applauding Sergio Perez for finally getting some results in that second Red Bull seat. He helped Max Verstappen to his first World Championship victory with a defensive performance that was absolutely legendary from Lewis Hamilton, and he was even picking up the occasional win for Red Bull when Max Verstappen faltered. I mean, it even looked like the Mexican was in the title battle this season after 4 or 5 races. He picked up 2 wins in Saudi Arabia and Baku from his teammate at that point. So considering before Sergio Perez, from Red Bull's perspective, they tried both Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon to try and replace Daniel Ricciardo, but both had come unstuck because of the incredible talent of Max Verstappen making them look terrible in comparison, even though now we know that they are both great drivers and are well worth their drives at Alpine and Williams respectively. Sergio Perez performing alongside Max Verstappen in the way that he did was a huge plus for the Red Bull team. Whilst for Sergio Perez, it was a chance to actually stay on the Formula One grid. Sebastian Vettel had been kicked out of Ferrari, and Aston Martin were absolutely desperate to get hold of the German world champion. Unfortunately for Checo, Lance Stroll wasn't going anywhere for reasons, so Sergio Perez was dropped, and it looked like he was going to be off the grid for 2021. That was until the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix, where Alex Albon smashed up his Red Bull in practice, and Sergio Perez went on to get his first victory in Formula One with an incredible drive. He was taken out at turn 1, remember, and drove through everybody to pick up that victory. Even if it was a little bit lucky, Red Bull then saved Sergio Perez from being dropped off the grid, put him in alongside Max Verstappen, and it looked like a win-win for everybody. And alongside his performances, he has a wealth of Formula One experience that he can offer. The 2023 season is Sergio Perez's 13th season in the sport, putting him 9th on the all-time Formula One appearance list. So this is hardly some nobody driver. This is an experienced driver with a huge fan base that has proved time and time again he is worthy of a Formula One seat. But over the course of 2023, Checo has looked less like Red Bull's dream and more like Red Bull's nightmare, to the extent that as we go towards his home Grand Prix in Mexico, the rumour mill is circulating around Sergio Perez calling it quits with a year left on his contract and leaving Formula One for good. These rumours have now been squashed by Red Bull and Perez, but that doesn't mean Sergio is going to be in that Red Bull car come testing in 2024, so should he just save himself some trouble and retire from Formula One right now? The turning point for me this season was definitely when Max Verstappen stole victory from Sergio Perez in Miami, followed by a crash in qualifying in Monaco, which left the Mexican completely devoid of confidence in that Red Bull car. His performances, particularly in qualifying, then spiraled out of control. He wouldn't make it through to a Q3 session until Hungary 6 races later, which you can't really get away with when you're in the fastest car on the Formula One grid and your teammate is putting together a record-breaking win streak. Although to an extent, that's kind of played into his favour. Red Bull have been able to be positive about Sergio Perez and back the Mexican to get back to his best because Max Verstappen has been so far clear of the rest of the field. He effectively had the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships sewn up by the summer break, so Sergio Perez could come home in 5th or 6th place, and the team could still come away from the weekend with more points than their rivals. But since the summer, Red Bull have been able to look forward to the 2024 season and start to look at the problems that might arise where those rivals are a little bit closer. I mean, Ferrari have been able to steal a win this season. Mercedes updates make them look faster and faster. McLaren have made huge steps forwards towards the front of the grid, and those 3 teams all have something that Red Bull doesn't in a competitive driver pairing. Next year, Red Bull may not be able to rely on just one driver picking up enough points to win both championships. Max might not go on another 10-race win streak like he did this season because it was already obscene to do it once, let alone do it again. The team might need a second driver to back him up and actually be in the mix, which at the moment, Sergio Perez isn't. And it's not like Red Bull don't have options. Yuki Tsunoda's had a great season, if a little bit understated because he hasn't picked up the points he's maybe deserved. Daniel Ricciardo has come back into the setup and put himself into contention. I think the Australian has even said he's eyeing up that second Red Bull seat. So the battle between the two of them could easily determine which of them gets that step up into the main team. And then, of course, Liam Lawson came in, received massive praise for his sessions that he put in whilst in his rookie races. So he could easily fill the gap of either Yuki Tsunoda or Daniel Ricciardo, or they could go crazy and put Liam Lawson straight up into the Red Bull team. Of those three, I'd say Daniel Ricciardo probably has the best shot of jumping up into that seat. I mean, Horner has been a big advocate of the Australian, was absolutely buzzing when he came back into the Red Bull setup at the beginning of the 2023 season, and surely getting him back into the AlphaTauri setup is just to see whether or not he's still got the pace that he had when he was winning races at Red Bull. At the end of the day, it's kind of the driver that got away from Christian, even though he desperately wanted him to stay, offered him a lot of money. Daniel Ricciardo left, and I think Christian Horner just kind of wants to get the band back together, him and Max and Daniel all back at Red Bull like it was 5 years ago. However, with that being said, if that seat did come up, I'm sure there would be drivers outside of Red Bull and AlphaTauri that would be interested in driving the fastest car on the Formula One grid right now. So if Sergio Perez isn't going to do the job for them, maybe they just nudge him towards the exit. Like, I don't think they fire him yet. I feel like if he is going to get fired, it will be during the 2024 season because he's helped them win championships for the first time since the Sebastian Vettel era. He's won races this season, which has helped them win the Constructors' Championship this year, and he may yet deliver their first 1-2 in the driver's standings, which are all incredible accomplishments to possibly end your career on. Meaning if Sergio Perez were to go into his home Grand Prix in Mexico, maybe nab one last podium finish, I imagine throw the trophy at Helmut Marko's head and announce his retirement from the sport, it would kind of make sense. There's just not really that much more left for him to achieve. He has pole positions now, he has race victories now, he's been part of a Constructors' Championship, and let's face it, he's never going to win a driver's title over Max Verstappen, so the only thing left would be more race victories, which look less and less likely to happen. However, on the flip side of that, if he does decide to stay for next season, I really worry about his lasting legacy being tarnished by a little bit of recency bias, because instead of ending his career as a champion with Red Bull, we go into the 2024 season, which again I can see being a really tough season for Sergio Perez. I mean, he and the team still aren't on the same page this year about how to balance the car after his slump, so next year Red Bull could start falling to other teams in the constructors' standings, Sergio Perez continues to struggle to bring home the points, and he could end up being fired rather than leaving on his own terms. Which, let's face it, he doesn't deserve to be in the category of driver that is chucked out of the sport. He has given so much to Formula One over so many years and actually achieved some incredible things in Formula One as well. He deserves to leave in the same way that Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen have left, being applauded for his achievements rather than criticised for his shortcomings, which won't happen if 10 races into next season he's the next driver that Red Bull have to shoot in the head. Or of course, none of that happens, he comes into the 2024 season, refines a little bit of form and absolutely smashes it. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. What should Sergio Perez do with his future? And whilst you're down there, leave a like, subscribe. And if you've enjoyed this video, I also put together this video here reviewing the Austin Grand Prix and your hot takes after that race, which was controversial. So click that link and I'll see you over there.